The world is witness to what happened then, and it's witness to what happened now in our rebuilding of our nation and our people.
200,000 Armenians were fighting in the Russian Tsarist army, and thousands of Christian Armenians were fighting with the Turkish military. Turkey claims Armenian Christians were giving strategic information to their allies, so they decided to have a wholesale genocide where bullets were rarely used. It was too costly. The Jewish genocide was retail. Chambers were built, chemicals produced, big budget, mucho dólares. Well, when they were through at the slaughterhouse, 1.5 million Armenian children, women, and men were butchered in the most hideous ways imaginable by the Turks and the Kurds. I guess each culture treats the fighting of war differently. The Turkish military is considered possibly the best military in the world. Why? Take no prisoners. Exterminate so the race is unable to grow. Where does that mindset come from? Wisdom, hatred, or a combination? Hopefully one day the Turkish government and the military remembers what Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the father of Turkey, Baba, Papa, said on April 23, 1920. He denounced the Armenian massacres as a shameful act. On another occasion, he said you should take all religion and throw it to the bottom of the ocean. When are we as human beings going to come to our senses and realize we are all brothers and sisters in this beautiful world of ours? This I hate, not man, nor flag, nor race, nor religion, but war with its wild grinning face.
Welcome to Documentarians and Their Quest. I'm your host, Marshall Stern, and the clip that you just witnessed was produced by John Garber, my guest today. John grew up in Fresno. He attended school in San Francisco, got an athletic scholarship to the University of Idaho State, and from there found a path to other ventures. He became a nutritional health expert, a actor, and also a documentarian, as you have seen today. He has a varied background. He's trained many directors, writers, producers, and studio heads. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Marshall. I'm happy to be here.
I'll tell you, it was a very riveting documentary. And I'm wondering now about the title. What does it mean, Hayastan, a promise to Araxi?
Well, Hayastan is the word for Armenia, and a promise to Araxi. Araxi was my mother, Roxy. And so when I made the film, I wanted to dedicate this film to her, and so that's the title.
Now, how long did it take you to make this production?
It took about 3 months of shooting, and then all the footage stayed in the closet for about 2 to 3 years. Mm-hmm. And then Thomas Stone and myself went to LA, and we worked with an editor provided by Paramount Studios by the name of Terry Kelly, mm-hmm. and it took us about 2 weeks to edit the film.
So when you made this film, and of course it's directed toward the slaughter by the Turks, did you ever ask any Turks to be interviewed?
I've been trying to get Turkish people to be interviewed because I'd like to get the flip side of this discussion. But as of yet, I haven't been able to come up with anyone. If there are any Turkish people out there that would like to be filmed, we would be more than happy to continue this documentary, which I plan to do, and I'd like to get the Turkish viewpoint.
From the research that I've done, and which seems to be common knowledge, about 21 countries have acknowledged it, but have not done anything in terms of actual documenting and holding the Turks responsible. And of course, the Turkish people have denied it. What do you think the reasons are that major countries, or in the film where they say the other Christian countries, referring possibly to Germany, England, the United States, didn't want it or didn't recognize it? What is your take on that?
Well, I think that what happens, we have a lot of money being exchanged between countries. And we have the oil factor, we have strategic military bases, we have a lot of money being spent in arms. And if anybody comes out and backs the Armenian cause, then contracts will be cut off by the Turkish government and missile sites will be taken out of there. It's a very strategic position. I mean, if you were to let Turkey on its own and took those missile sites out of there, I mean, what would happen to Israel?
Right. Or the other countries.
Or the other countries.
Right. Now, in the research, and of course you alluded to it, was that when Hitler did what he did to the Jews and other people, he made some statements relative to the Armenian massacre. What were those statements?
Well, a basic statement was that who will remember the Armenians?
Right.
You know, that they've been massacred, but who will remember it?
In other words, there was not an uproar through all of the other countries.
No.
So,
and if you remember, at that time there were other wars going on, so everybody was like pretty much fending for themselves.
Right. Now, when you use, before you said wholesale and retail, and so they ended up killing the intellectuals and the educated people, and that, I guess, set the stage for annihilating the rest.
Yeah, when I use the word wholesale, I'm using that word because, I mean, they would take one bullet, shoot one person, and then tie up all these other people to the person that they've shot, and then take them to the river, and that one person that was dead would then drown everybody that was tied up to him. Right. So no money was spent on it, okay? And the Kurds came out of the mountains with their knives and etc., and they were butchered. You know, I mean, people were taken out of their homes, their necks were slit, they strangled, hung, they were taken into caves, and in the caves, and they would close the caves, they put a fire into the caves, and they'd suffocate them that way.
Did anyone from the Ottoman Empire, was there any retribution against the young Turks, as they called them? Were any of them put on the carpet? I did read that some of them were sentenced in absentia, but then they fled and went to other countries.
Yeah, they fled and went to other countries, and you know, one of the biggest culprits, he was assassinated in Germany by an Armenian revolutionary, and but otherwise, no, nothing was really done.
Well, I did read that Morgenthau and a number of people, and a couple of people in high places in the German military, were appalled, but of course the government per se didn't lend a hand, or there was no outcry. So they, in a sense, were giving credence to what they were doing, because again, it was World War I, and they were being fought against the rest of the Allies. So it was actually a very awful, awful period in America and in the world per se, that things have not been documented, so there would be some sort of an uprising, in a sense, to say, this is what you've done, we want you to be able to make the statement. But they've not done that so far, have they?
No, so you have 1.5 million people that have been basically assassinated, and they're saying those people never existed.
Right.
You know,
is there anything in the Armenian community in terms of trying to get this procedure where therefore they can identify and agree that this terrible thing occurred?
No, the Armenian community has all kinds of documentation, all kinds of videos from survivors. You know, they have everything. They can just put everything on the table. You know, what I would like to see is if the Turkish government, the Turkish military, whoever's running that country, if they could sit down at the table, okay, with, you know, Armenians, and resolve this once and for all, because you know, you can't live with a lie.
No, that's
You know,
true.
now what they're doing is they're taking the truth and they're turning it around and saying we were the ones that caused all this.
Well, I do hope that someone in the audience responds to your request, that there's someone out there who might give a different point of view, not necessarily maybe agreeing with you, but at least someone coming forth and saying, this is our take on it. Not that it's going to eradicate all the people that have been killed. Now, what about, are you planning another documentary in addition to the one that you've already produced?
Well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to get the Turkish viewpoint. Okay, so ideally, if I could get some Turkish people and some Armenian people together,
Right.
you know, where we can sit down and we can discuss this, you know, that's what I'd love to do.
Right.
And then release that film.
Right. Well, certainly people like the Israelis and the Palestinians, there are some groups there that are trying to get together so that they could work on a compromise, a peace program, so that people can live in harmony and agree. Well, John, thank you very much for being my guest today. It was very, very informative. And for the public out there, if you wish to be in contact with John or the producer, Tom Stone, gallery.com. He'll be very happy to communicate with you. And if there's someone else out there who has produced an interesting documentary, you can email me at mbstern@aol.com, and that's spelled STEARN, and I will respond to you. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.